it's not specific to blockchain or specific to any technology.
So like I was seeing, or like in my research I found out like there's different ways to implement blockchain, especially with public blockchains like you mentioned. It's immutable, so you have to be cautious with the information you put to it. So I was looking at it that like there's different ways to implement blockchain. Where on these public blockchains you could just have it be proof of evidence for a transaction, but not necessarily have the information on the blockchain. So then it would reconcile with another system.
Yeah, there's a lot of implementations of blockchain where the actual full information about the transaction is not actually stored on the blockchain, but only like a hash of that transaction is stored in the blockchain, and the remaining information is stored off-chain. That is one of the typical design patterns for implementing blockchain use cases.
And what protocol do you guys use in the government?
Well, I think initially, I think by 2000, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2016. We did a study looking at investigating the different blockchain protocols and their applicability for implementation, and we ended up choosing both Hyperledger and Ethereum as possible protocols for implementing government use cases.
And then what made you guys decide on those two specific protocols? What are the pros and cons of each protocol, and could you give me more detail about that?
I would say I'm not the technical expert on the specific pros and cons of each protocol, but both protocols had already wide community of users, which is supported by many developers and active development in these two protocols. Both protocols also supported smart contracts. Ethereum has implementation of smart contracts, also Hyperledger. Hyperledger also had the advantage of having a implementation of a permissioned blockchain network. Ethereum, while did not have permissioned configuration, had workarounds to be implemented in a way that mimics a permissioned network. I think these are kind of like the main salient features of these protocols that allowed us to,
Well, why would you
prefer the decision of choosing these two?
Well, why would you prefer a permission network over a permissionless network?
There are certain use cases that could be implemented on a public blockchain. However, many of the use cases related to government information need to be protected. There's an aspect of privacy when it comes to these use cases, and that is still can be implemented on top of a public blockchain. However, it would be much more costly because it would also require the activity of mining and using fractional currencies to write the transactions, and also many of the public blockchain networks take up to 15 minutes to actually register a transaction, which is a latency that's not acceptable in many government use cases and applications. You need much faster throughput.